Kevin Scarbinsky. You can give him a follow at Kevin Scarbinsky, or he's got the website, scarbinsky.com. Good morning, Kevin. How are you, sir?
Morning, Kevin.
I'm good, guys. How are you?
We're good. Go ahead, Ep.
Are writers allowed to give their own headlines?
Online, yes.
Okay, how about say for newspapers?
In the newspaper, no, because you don't know where the story's going to go when you send it in. You might send a suggested headline, but online, yes. I think in almost every case, writers are writing their own headline.
But back sometime, even now, there are people who would like to have the headline written the way they want it, but the guy who didn't write the article gives the headline. Is that correct?
That's the way it used to be. In the newspaper before the internet, those of us who remember that era, you would send your story in, and again, you didn't know if they were going to strip it straight across the top of the page, if they were going to run it down the side of the page, if they were going to have it over a couple of columns in the middle of the page. So you didn't know how long the headline needed to be. So you didn't write the headline. No, you sent your story in, and a copy editor would write the headline and put it in the newspaper.
Okay.
Kevin, you got people on radio shows now coming out and saying that Pete Golding is the worst defensive coordinator Nick Saban has ever had. Is that fair?
No, it's not. You have people making those evaluations, or they're not even making an evaluation. They're just making a statement to get attention. Probably no less football than your dogs. So it's a ridiculous statement to make. Look, it's an easy thing to say because Kirby Smart. I mean, look, he's had some elite defensive coordinators: Kirby Smart, Jeremy Pruitt, Kevin Steele. So to say Pete Golding is the worst. It just, I don't like the connotation of the word, and anyone who looks at Alabama, and I heard someone on a radio show yesterday just talking about how bad Alabama's defense was last year, without any context, without any discussion of the injuries they suffered, the people they lost. So the fact that LSU's offense strafed everybody last year. So it's just no. I mean, evaluations like that are easy, they're simple, and in many ways they're mindless.
Yep, that.
Where do you think the Scott Cochran thing will go in the end? It's this deal where they're putting out a bunch of stuff. I think the coaches there, I'll say, I think part of the coaches will go home to their wives and say, where did we get this guy? Some of them will go home and say the guy's good. It's supposed to give enthusiasm to Georgia. Will it give some backlash?
There's no way to know, Wimp. All coaches on a staff don't get along.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's news to people, but personally, you have jealousies, you have personality conflicts. It's like any business. Not everyone at every business gets along. Not everyone at every business is friends with everyone else they work with. Some people you go to work with them in the office and you leave and you never see them again until you go back to the office. And you don't have any interest in seeing them because you have your own life outside of your job. So now working on a football staff is a little different because you spend so much time together. But there's no way to know whether this is going to ultimately be deemed a great move by Kirby Smart or a move designed to attempt to weaken Alabama than to strengthen Georgia. So there's really no way to predict how it's going to work out. It's going to be fascinating to watch, I will say. But I also think we're putting so much emphasis on this part of it because it's the off season and there's not as much else to talk about when it comes to college football, and we love to talk about college football. So, with the Scott Cochran as the special teams coach is not going to be the secret sauce that pushes Georgia over the top to win a national championship. I just don't believe that.
If you were at Coach Saban's house and y'all were sitting in the recliners, you got your feet up, and you said, "Coach, what do you think about Coach Cochran leaving? Is that a good thing, bad thing? What in your opinion, what would Coach say?"
I don't think he would be overly emotional about it one way or another. I think he tends to look at those things as business decisions. Now, he does get upset sometimes when things don't go the way he expects them to go, or if he thinks things aren't done the proper way in his estimation. So I don't think he's sitting around biting his fingernails, worrying that Scott Cochran is no longer in Tuscaloosa. I'll say that.
Do you think I do think they probably needed a change in philosophy a little bit, maybe more of a scientific approach, bringing in two guys now from Indiana. They're maybe more analytical. Maybe he. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint where injuries happen, but he's got two guys here now that maybe a little bit different approach. We'll see as they get here. Everybody can talk a big game and make it sound great, but we'll see what happens when he works with these guys. But do you think he really wanted to go in a different direction with the strength program based on what's happened in the last couple of years?
I don't know that. I don't know if that's the case. I mean, look, they still continue to develop incredible athletes. Look at what guys like Henry Ruggs are doing at the Combine. And not that Henry Ruggs wasn't a naturally gifted athlete when he got to Tuscaloosa, but he certainly grew and developed. So I don't think we should throw Scott Cochran under the bus necessarily and suggest that his ways and means were outdated. I don't know if that's the case or not. I'm not a student of the strength and conditioning science, so I know there's been some suggestion to that end. But again, I think a lot of this conversation is overblown. I don't think it's going to have a major negative impact on the Alabama program, or much of a negative impact at all. I certainly don't think it's going to, again, be the difference for Georgia in being able to finally slay the white whale in Alabama that they're chasing.
Yeah, Dad and I talked about this yesterday. We talked about it when Holman Wiggins came, and he went to the first practice and looked at those receivers that he was getting ready to coach. And he went home to his wife and said, honey, I'm about to be a great receivers coach. And I think Coach Ballou and Dr. Ray, when they see the talent level and the guys that they have to work with, not that Indiana doesn't have some, I'm sure, impressive athletes, but those guys will be probably shocked a little bit, Kevin. Don't you think, when they walk in and say, oh, my goodness, look at these guys. They're
walking, they're walking into a different world, for sure.
Right?
And the facilities, the resources, anything they need that they truly believe they need to help those athletes be the best they can be will be provided for them.
Yeah, no doubt. That.
Have we got a weak league in the SEC at the bottom? We've got Arkansas. We've got State and Ole Miss in the West, who are not very good. We've got Vanderbilt. We've got Mizzou in the East. They're not very good. Is there a weak bottom in the SEC? I mean, compared to other bottoms.
Are we talking football or basketball?
Yeah, football. I'm sorry.
Football. Okay, obviously, because we don't have divisions in basketball.
Yeah,
sorry. Hasn't it always been the haves and the have-nots?
Probably somewhat. It looks to me like it's a lot more.
And in recent, and there was a run there, and I don't know when you would start or end the timeline, but there was a period of time where it seemed like there were more teams in the middle. There were more teams that were pushing up from the bottom towards the top than maybe we're seeing right now. Certainly Alabama created some separation all its own within the conference, and LSU obviously stepped up last year. Georgia has stepped up. Auburn's had some good moments, but Alabama separated itself as the defining program in the league. But it's been, I guess, good for competition that other teams have challenged Alabama in the last year or so. But whether the bottom is, I don't know that. There used to be at least a thought that there was the potential to lose any conference game you played. That's certainly not the case today. There are many games that Alabama plays, for example, that there is very little chance for the opposing team, we're talking Southeastern Conference games.
Yeah.
To really have a chance, unless Alabama just rolls over and lays down and puts the ball on the ground a bunch of times, and that doesn't happen very often.
We're talking with Kevin Scarbinsky. Kevin, Dad's always says, don't win too many games your first year. You're on the honeymoon. Don't go out there and win 25 or 26 the first year. I think what Nate Oats has done almost is perfect. He's battled an injury-ridden team, had them come back off the mat when it looks like they're dead. He certainly would probably not going to win too many his first year, but his popularity is at an all-time high because he's on the honeymoon. Is Dad right about that? You don't want to go out and get 27 or 28 your first year, then they want it every single year. Is Nate Oats doing this thing the right way? Not that he's intending to, but he seems to be very, very popular right now.
I think that's very perceptive, Barry. Yeah, he certainly didn't script it this way. He'd rather not be playing with Herb Jones with one hand, for example. He'd love to have Javon Quinterly out there playing as well, and some of the other injured guys, or some of the injured guys. Quinterly, of course, not injured, but inexplicably sidelined by the NCAA. Yeah, it's what he's done is he's established a way they're going to play, for one thing, and it is a hard hat style. It's a style fans can appreciate when they see hard work, and in that way, I see some parallels to your program, Wimp, when you were the coach. Fans came to expect, and that your teams were going to play hard. They were going to give great effort for the most part, not 100% every single night. Nobody reaches that perfection, but he's established a way to play. It's fun to watch. They're never out of a game because of how many threes they shoot and their ability to shoot the threes, their ability to score. They've shown they can compete against the better teams in the league at times. So, but they've also had some adversity that's kind of held them back. So, and they've lost, and frankly, they've lost some leads they shouldn't have lost, and lost some games they shouldn't have lost. So, it really has been a good scene setter, shall we say, and fans now have some really good reason to have good expectations and strong expectations going forward. And they're not done yet this year. We don't know whether they have a realistic chance to get into the NCAA tournament, but I don't think they're dead. I don't think they're dead by any means.
Yeah, no doubt that.
Well, I don't really have anything else. To me, talking about the virus that we have coming around, the flu is as bad or worse. And I don't want to downplay the virus, but it seems to me like the virus has almost taken over a political view, more so than, and I may be wrong in the future, but gosh, people my age or younger than me are dying of flu by the truckloads, and we don't talk much about that. Any comment on that?
Well, what's interesting to me, and I don't really want to get into a political or a medical discussion because I'm not a politician or a doctor. But I will say this, Wimp, have you guys seen, what is it, the National Collegiate Players Association?
Yeah.
Suggesting that the NCAA study the possibility of playing the NCAA tournament with no fans.
That's the reason I brought it up.
Yeah. I mean, it's
stupid.
I mean, look, and again, I'm not a doctor, but yes, you should be prepared for the worst. You should absolutely, and you should, I think, inform people, okay, here's at least what's possible. Don't panic, but this is what could happen if at worst case scenario. So if we ever do get to that scenario, then people won't actually panic. But again, I think there's been a lot of extreme discussion on this. I would like to see cooler heads prevail. I'd like to see doctors talking about this, not politicians.
I agree.
Yeah, I think one of the problems is you have these 24-hour news channels now, and that's all they talk about, and people watch. So it's, the 24-hour news channels don't do us any favors in these situations. That's what causes, because they watch it all day, and it causes people to panic. You got 24
hours to fill, right?
Yeah.
you got to talk about something for 24 hours.
All right, Kevin, tell us about your website, about the Coach Safely. I did see you tweet out that the Alabama High School Final Four there was the best in the country as far as how they do it there. I know the Knight Edie group do a great job there with that. But tell us a little bit about the Coach Safely program.
Yeah, they do. It was fun to be down there a couple of days last week. 16,000 people there Saturday for the long day of finals. It was a great day.
Yeah.
Coach Safely, we are, again, we're trying to raise awareness that the law exists. If you coach kids 14 and under in youth sports, whether it's baseball, basketball, softball, soccer, whatever it might be, you've got to take a comprehensive training course in injury recognition and prevention. We want to help keep our kids safe. It's available online. It's available through the Alabama Recreation and Parks Association. They have a great chapter there in Tuscaloosa. So check with your local ARPA representative on how you can take the course. It does, and the best part for you as a youth coach, it doesn't cost you anything to take the course, get certified, and keep our kids safe.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.